The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based upon real-life relationship, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon. Do read it. I'm sure you'll love it. It's www.miamosinzia.com and www.amazon.com/Mia Mosinzia.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based upon real-life relationship, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon. Do read it. I'm sure you'll love it. It's www.miamosinzia.com and www.amazon.com/Mia Mosinzia.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by a well-known award-winning author, Mia Mosinzia, of No Time for Love, called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love would be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com and over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, Audible. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and today. And the Mike Wagner Show is also heard worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, and Himalaya. We're here with a wonderful lady who is an author of a book called The Violin Player. She's also editor of the Indie Collaborative, and she's also been in quite a few movies as well, too. And her job is showcasing musicians and connecting together with other artists and holding chapters through your organization. And she's authored dramas, novels, TV scripts, books, lyrics to new musicals, and also a young adult novel, Monday in Odessa, which earned some awards as well, too. And live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in the beautiful New York City area, just along the Hudson, ladies and gentlemen, the very, very talented, award-winning author and consultant, Eileen Sherman. Eileen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
It is a great pleasure as well, too. So you're the editor of the Indie Collaborative, which showcases musicians, connects together with other artists, and holds chapter through the organization. You're the author of The Violin Players, and you also have a CD out, by the way, which I forgot to mention, is called Perfect Picture, which is inspired by the life of Norman Rockwell, and you also authored a number of dramas, novels, TV scripts, books, lyrics, and new musicals, and you also have a young adult novel, Monday in Odessa, which won some awards as well, and you also collaborate with quite a few people as well, too. And you also have a couple of CDs out. And before we get into all that, tell us how you first got started, Eileen.
How did everything start? Is that what you're discussing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell us how you first got started.
Okay, before it all started, before I even answer that, I want to just go back to the Indie Collaborative, because it was our mutual friend, Mike Greenlee, who brought us together for this chat. Mm-hmm. And the Indie Collaborative, I'm not what you would call the editor. I'm the co-founder with Grant Malloy Smith and the co-producer with Grant. And basically, we created something that we didn't even think would happen, is this wonderful worldwide a network connection of over 2,000 plus professionals in the music industry. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about it after, we talked first about my career, but that is what the Indie Collaborative is. And so how did it all start? Well, I always loved the theater, musical theater in particular. Grew up, I was the little girl dancing around in our living room and having my eyes and heart set on the Broadway stage. And what happened is that I am a theater. I received both my undergraduate and graduate degrees in theater. But when I got married and had a family, I turned my interest to writing. And we were living in Kansas City at the time. I had just had my second child, my son. My daughter was 2.5, and I went to audition Hallmark Cards in Kansas City. Had just recently started a children's theater, and
wow.
Because Kansas City is the home of Hallmark Cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to audition there because that was my theater experience, but I auditioned with something I had written, and they said, would you like to write for us? And that actually began my career. And I did a first musical with them that basically they hooked me up with another songwriter there. I'm a playwright and lyricist. Mm-hmm. And but then for the second, I said, gee, I would love to collaborate with my sister, who's this fabulous composer and pianist and musician. And they said, sure, go for it. And so for the next show that I wrote, that we wrote together, was called Rotten Apples. It began a collaboration that my sister and I started, I guess, that show aired in 1984, and we're still going strong. So it's been quite a while. And from there, somebody came to see, and each step along the way, basically, it was not always planned. It basically just happened because of the earlier opportunity. So my show aired and was presented live on stage in Kansas City, and somebody in the audience said to me, I'm going to be doing a series on local television here, a series about Jewish holidays. And the first holiday is Hanukkah, which is appropriate. We're talking today because Friday night is the first night of Hanukkah. And we'd like you to write a story, an original story, and tell it on television for the show. And I said, sure, I would love to do that. Well, that became what I called the odd potato, based on my father's true story as a little boy growing up during the Great Depression, right after his own father died, and he was only 6 years old. And that story became a picture book. It became a musical on stage, which eventually ended up being called Broadway Sings the Odd Potato, with quite an illustrious Broadway cast. It became an Emmy Award-winning television special out of WGN in Chicago.
Wow.
And then, I partnered with Variety, the children's charity in Kansas City, and we produced together a CD album of the whole musical. Judd Hirsch narrates, 20 Tony Award winners, and it's the whole little musical on CD. And so all these different things have happened to it, and as I said, it was inspired by my father's true story, and he wasn't around for all these wonderful things, but he was around for the picture book. But just this week, because of course, like every other artist in the world, everything that was supposed to happen, and there were different things that were supposed to happen for the Odd Potato this year, were canceled. But I wanted again to do something. I always love to do something every year that happens, and to think in memory of my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So just this year, the original picture book, all with new illustrations and animated, appears on YouTube.
Wow.
So I'm sure my dad's smiling from above, thinking now his story is on YouTube. So that became the Odd Potato. But then, and my sister wrote the music, and then I started to get very interested in the Norman Rockwell story, wrote another musical, Perfect Picture, wrote other dramas, and just everything from stage to television to CDs, that basically just one led into the other. And that's it in a nutshell, I would say. Interestingly enough, my novels began because the original picture book, after I basically wrote this little story, it was 3.5 pages long. I told it on television as the woman had asked me, and afterward, everybody said, "Wow, you should try to get that published." And it was eventually published to become a picture book.
Wow.
But I went through many rejections before I got that acceptance. And one of the rejections was from another publisher who wasn't interested in the Odd Potato, but was interested in my first young adult novel, Monday in Odessa. And Monday in Odessa led to Independence Avenue, my second young adult novel, which led to The Violin Players. And just this past year, I made an audiobook of The Violin Players, because that particular book, its theme is about anti-Semitism and bullying and racial bias that's happening now in high schools and around the country. And so it seemed very, very pertinent. And so I'm now also an audiobook narrator and producer of audiobooks as well. So as I said, one avenue just kind of leads to the other.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds amazing as well, too, that you had started off working with your sister in the in that one play as well, too, that we talked about the what was it, the Odd Potato? Right. Then he had the Independence Avenue.
First it was Rotten Apples.
Rotten Apples, that was it. Okay.
But we've written we wrote Rotten Apples. We wrote the Odd Potato. We wrote Perfect Picture. We wrote a song that's on wonderful CD, Action Moves People United, for the United Nations. We've written some other singles together. We write our music, and our music has been performed live by some wonderful Broadway stars, both at Lincoln Center, Carnegie Hall, The Bitter End, all over the place.
Wow. I mean, you've got a plethora of works out there. It's like I'm trying to decide which one I should just get into here. It's like, I have to throw like a dartboard or spin the wheel to see which one. So, wow.
Well, they're all, for a writer, and because I basically am a writer / producer, that's how, I really see myself, and I write in different mediums, and, But the end of the day, it's all about storytelling. And so for a writer, every piece that you do, every project that you do, it's just like, because I'm also a mother and a grandmother, so it's just like raising children.
Mm-hmm.
Each one is very different, but you love them equally the same.
That is so true, yeah. And I'm speaking all families as well, too. So, myself, 4 kids, and lovely wife and everything else. And what was that one moment that precisely influenced you into what you're doing today? So what was that one moment precisely that simply said to you, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
That's a really interesting question. So I'm going to give you 2 different moments. Okay. One, I'm a very, very little girl, 4 or 5 years old, and this is a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
The original Mickey Mouse Club.
Wow!
I used to watch the Mickey Mouse Club, and I would see these. I wasn't interested. I'm sorry, Walt Disney. I really wasn't interested in the cartoons. I wasn't interested in anything. I was only interested in those kids. And, of course, we all know, like Annette Funicello, but so many of those kids, they were so talented. They were singing and dancing. And I'm 4 years old, and that's what I want to do. I didn't know where you went to do it or how you got there, but that's what I wanted to do. But now we're going to basically fast forward. And that's why your question is really pertinent, because I always thought really what I wanted to do was be a performer. But when I saw my very first play produced, which was called Me, Myself, and I, by the Coterie, which is Hallmark's Family Theater in Kansas City, when I saw it first produced and I'm watching it, and then the second one with my sister, Rotten Apples, and I'm going, oh my, this is what I really love about the theater. I love the storytelling. And that made complete sense because from the time I was very little, I was an avid reader, and I've always loved, great dramatic stories in film. But it was really the stories. It was the storytelling. And so then all of a sudden I realized, oh, my goodness, that's really what I love to do. I love to create stories in my head, and that's what I love about the theater. So I found my niche, but it all came as it evolved very naturally and organically. It wasn't, it wasn't something that was planned. So that was a very, very lovely discovery. And I was already, at that point when I began my writing career, I'm in my 30s. So it was a long time coming. So it was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. It does sound very interesting. And who are some of your favorite actors and movies and Broadway musicals you enjoyed growing up?
Oh, well, the very first musical I saw was a Music Man. Okay, I was a little girl and I saw the Music Man. And they're going to be bringing that back again, actually, with Sutton Foster and Hugh Jackman. And although I've not worked with Hugh Jackman, Sutton Foster is on our CD with the 20 Tony Award winners of The Odd Potato.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. When we brought in the very, very best of Broadway, and to do the CD, and but that was not the show that spoke to me. The show that spoke to me was the second show I saw in my lifetime, in my childhood, and that was Oliver, because of an English, and of course they brought over an English cast, and the English actor or actress that just, I said, I could do that. I could be that part. Her name is Georgia Brown. I'm sure probably most of your listeners would never have heard of her. She was very, very famous at the time in England. I don't know if her fame kind of translated to the United States, but she was the Belle of the Ball on Broadway that year. And when I saw her performance, I said, that's what I want to do. And she played Nancy in the story Oliver, and in that whole show, the way it was produced, the way it was staged, the way the songs, the orchestrations, that spoke to me. And then if we flash forward a little bit more, my Sweet 16 present, I did not want the traditional Sweet 16 party. I wanted to go see the then hit, which everybody knows now, Cabaret. And
wow.
I watched that show, yes, and Cabaret, I mean, that was eye-popping to me, and that was also very adult, and I adored it. I just said, this is the world that I want to be in. So one of the things that I've always wanted to strive, I didn't know exactly how I was going to get there and which means I was going to get there, but I always have wanted to be part of that Broadway community. And so I take great pride that I've worked with some really, really fine actors. And so that's that story.
and that is a very fascinating story. And I'm sure you've got more. Looks like you're ready to jump in. So
yes. Well, you asked me about some other fine actors. I will say again, I'm thinking, because, again, I said The Odd Potato, which was all inspired by my dad, and it always has. It's not just a piece of art or a work that my sister and I created, but it has such a important family significance to us, and especially now since both our parents are gone. And just, this is a wonderful story with The Odd Potato, that I knew that, obviously, when the show was performed, and it was supposed to be performed this December at a theater out in California, but, of course, that's being postponed till next year. But when the show was performed in New York, and it was performed by Frank Gorshin and Charlotte Ray, and the cast of 7. But here, what we did is I wanted to have one narrator and then invite Tony Award winners to do each of the musical scenes, but the narrator would basically bridge the scenes together, so he would be or she would be telling the story. Well, my first choice for a narrator was Judd Hirsch, because Judd was one of my dad's all-time favorite actors.
Mm.
But, it was very, very hard to basically, always secure the one person you wanted at a certain moment. So what happened is I remember being in touch with his assistant in New York, and she said, please fax me all the information. I'm going to share it with Judd. And I waited and waited. And in the meantime, I was bringing in different stars to come. John Mahoney, that many of your listeners might remember as the father from Frasier, was on it. Of course, Sutton Foster came into it. Elaine Stritch, who is very well known. Donna McKechnie, who became very famous. She was the breakout star from A Chorus Line, the original Chorus Line. And so each and every one came in, and I was getting their scenes done, slowly but surely. And now we were just about done, and I still had not had my narrator, because when you put a CD together, you can put a piece here, a piece there, and then you're working with your engineer. You put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, I've not heard from Judd Hirsch. Oh, he's just can't do it. Not interested, doesn't want to do it. And I really had just about given up hope. And all of a sudden, I'm about to start looking through my Filofax and thinking, who else am I going to come do this narration? And I get basically a telephone call from his assistant.
Wow.
Saying, Judd is so sorry. He is so sorry. He lost your letter. He definitely wants to do this project. When do you want him to come in? So that was such a great tribute, because it was, as I said, one of my dad's absolute all-time favorite actors. So there's a lot of personal significance to everything that happened. One of my favorites, and we became very good friends through this, is a a major two-time Tony Award winner, Judy Kay. Judy, actually, for all your listeners who know the Phantom of the Opera, she was the original diva that the chandelier falls on. So they all know that part, okay? But Judy right now will be coming back, and I think Netflix did a production of it for television, for film, but she will be coming back. That was just starting previews, and she's coming back. They're doing a new musical called Diana, about Princess Diana, and Judy plays Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth. So I recommend everybody, if they're in the New York area, to go see that when Broadway opens up again. So those are some of my stories about working with some of the stars.
Oh, you know something, too? I forgot to throw in there as well, too. You talked about playwrights and everything else. Who are some of your favorite playwrights growing up?
Oh, well, I will tell you because another hat that I wear is I also teach dramatic literature. And I've been teaching that I started, of course, when I lived in the Kansas City area. It was out in Overland Park, Kansas, for a special graduate degree program for Baker University. Now, of course, since I moved, but everything's gone online anyway, and Baker was cutting edge. We were online before anybody was online years ago. And so I teach both graduate and undergraduate. Now I teach undergraduate students. I have three really my all-time favorite playwrights. One is Arthur Miller, which your listeners will know, Death of a Salesman. But my favorite of his is The Price. And The Price is a very, very interesting show about two brothers and their father. The other one that I love is Edward Albee, who I think of, and of course they'll know Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, but I think but I love his play, a newer play, not that it's new, is Three Tall Women. I think Edward Albee, of all the male playwrights that I have read and studied, I think he gets women the best. I think he really, really creates women the best. But I think the playwright that I just adore the most of all is Neil Simon.
Oh, my favorite. Yes. I love Neil Simon.
I must say Neil Simon. Not that he does women really well, because he doesn't, but he is so funny. And, you know, I always say I married my husband because he makes me laugh. People who make me laugh, I have such admiration for people who are not, they have humor, they have wit. And I know his plays. I know his plays so well that sometimes I know the next line because I teach them, I've read them, I've gone to them a million times. I know them so well. And yet, even when I know what the next line is coming, I can be laughing out loud when I'm preparing for a course again and reading the script again. Because he is just so good. He is just a wonderful, wonderful playwright when it comes to real humor, real wit, and he's very, very witty with words. So those are the three. I mean, Noel Coward is fantastic. I could probably, give you a long list. But I think that if I'm asked about the three, those would be my top three.
It sounds like you got a great lineup as well, too. We'll talk more about your book, The Violin Players, and also the Indie Collaborative. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Motion Zia of No Time for Love called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and ones you love will be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com and on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, and Audible, and coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, and heard worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with an award-winning author and playwright and more. I mean, the list just goes on and on for the terrific Eileen Sherman here on The Mike Wagner Show. And let's talk about your book, The Violin Players. And, once again, maybe you told us about a little bit about the book and what inspired you to write The Violin Players?
Oh, The Violin Players, again, was a very personal experience. My daughter then was in high school, in the Midwest. And for the first time, she experienced, not that people were being blatantly outright toward her, but she was listening and seeing it toward others, anti-Semitism among the kids. And she'd come home and she would say that, people aren't speaking out. And she says, but I am. I'm saying something. And I said, that's exactly right. But, oftentimes when you are not in a majority, when you are the lone wolf and there's a group of people who, and it wasn't like, a terrific, brutal hate crime. It was just slurs. It was just, jokes, but nasty jokes. And other people were laughing. And again, it's 14, 15, 16-year-old kids that, you sometimes you can say, oh, they're just kids. But it was really affecting my daughter, and she knew to stand up and to say something. But she said, not other people aren't. And when she told me the story, I decided I had already written 2 young adult novels, and the first 2 were historical fiction, but I decided this would be a contemporary romance. And it would be set in a high school, in a small high school, but it would be about a young girl who found herself, who was from New York City, and of course, growing up in the Northeast in New York City, certainly all different ethnic groups, they have large numbers, and so that you don't necessarily have to feel isolated and the object of ridicule. But all of a sudden, this young girl found herself, because her father got a teaching job for just 7 months, kind of like a substitute teacher, so that he at one of the small colleges, and so all of a sudden in high school, while she was immediately embraced because she's very cool, coming from the Big Apple, and no one suspects that she's Jewish. But the one boy who seems to really impress her, because they both share a love for baseball, they're both great baseball players, and the violin. And in fact, she's a terrific violinist, but he's a violin prodigy. And she is very, very enamored with this. And so what happens is, but he is Jewish, and there are different things that happen, and the other kids just like, oh, well, this is the, and the bully of the school is also one of the football heroes. So they just kind of like brush it aside. Oh, that's how Johnny talks, who cares? And not realizing really what ugliness and what that can lead to. And so I don't want to give away the story, but there's all with romance and again, a lot of conflict, and what does she do, and how does she basically act and react, and what is she supposed to do? So I hope everybody, and so this came out in 1998, the book, many years ago.
Wow.
And it had a great run. I was invited to schools and libraries and organizations all over the country. I spoke about it. But then about, I guess after a 10, 12-year run, it, it kind of went its way and was not in print. And people would find it here and there. It could still be found, at Amazon. But then a couple of years ago, when so much about hate crimes all over the world were just, coming out on the news constantly, and so many hate crimes, so many actually brutal stuff with killings were happening. And then, of course, so much hatred on the Internet, really, really ugly language on the Internet. My daughter, who is now a mother herself, said to me, Mom, she said, I think it's time for you to make an audiobook. Now, I had never made an audiobook because when I had written my young adult novels, audiobooks were not the hot properties they are now.
Mm-hmm.
She says, why don't you make an audiobook of the violin players? And again, it was a new challenge, and so I decided I would do it, and I started to do a little exploration of, should I hire an actor? I certainly know enough, okay? Should I hire an actor to do this, or should I do it myself? And I did a little survey of people who like audiobooks, and they said, oh, no, we love it when the author reads her own book.
Really?
So
Amazing.
so I just said, okay. So I certainly, I did it. And of course, I will say I do have training in the theater world, a lot of training in the theater world, so I certainly tried to make it as entertaining as possible. And I've gotten some very nice responses. So that's the story, and I hope that your listeners, particularly if they are audiobook fans, because it is people, it's written, okay, it was written with that idea of the young adult, so you're talking about the teen, but the truth is, I have so many adults who have written me who have said, oh my goodness, did this book speak to me? And so I really, if you are an audiobook fan and you enjoy listening to audiobooks while you're working out or you're driving in the car, I hope you'll check it out. It's on all the major platforms, Audible, Apple Books, Google Play, Chirp, you name it, it's there. So it's called The Violin Players, and I hope you enjoy.
We'll definitely enjoy as well, too, and we'll talk about the Indie Collaborative in just a minute, but first listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look on a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Motion Zia of No Time for Love called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love will be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com and over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon Audible, and coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Also heard worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with award-winning author and playwright Eileen Sherman. She did The Potato, helped out with Rotten Apples and Independent Avenue, and also author of Violin Players on the Mike Wagner Show, along with a Perfect Picture. And lastly, you have a new project out called the Indie Collaborative. You're a co-founder and producer of the Indie Collaborative, and tell us more about the Indie Collaborative and how you got started on it.
Well, the Indie Collaborative started out as just a little idea. When I moved back permanently to the New York City area, I started, and of course now through social media, I started meeting many other artists through social media, and they would say, oh, I'm doing a show here tonight. You know, in New York, you could go to 5 shows every night. And I'm doing a show here tonight. I'm doing a show there. And I started meeting many other different artists. And at a certain point, I thought, well, I love doing this, but I can't be going to everybody's show every single night. At the same time, I met online another fabulous artist named Grant Malloy Smith. Now, his field of music and entertainment is entirely different from mine. He is an award-winning singer-songwriter for American Roots. And again, I'm in musical theater with the Broadway community. So typically the two of us would never have met. But we met, we both were attending the Grammy Awards, both members of the Recording Academy at that time and Grammy voters. And so I emailed him because I liked, as I told you earlier in our discussion, anyone who can make me laugh, I'm immediately like, oh, this guy or gal is got to be very, very cool to get to know. And Grant is very, very humorous, very witty. And oftentimes he would make me laugh online. And again, I did not know who he was. And a hole in the head, I did not know. Okay. And but I wrote him and I said, I'm coming to the Grammy Awards. Are you going to be there? He said, yes. I said, I'm going to come up and introduce myself, and I have an idea. Well, I did just that. I found him in the crowd, and I came up and I introduced him, and I introduced myself. And I said, hi, I'm Eileen Sherman. And I said, and I have this idea. I don't think I got 2 sentences out of my mouth before he said, I'm in. What I didn't know is
that was fast.
Grant,
that was fast.
Very fast. Very, very fast. But Grant had the same idea for the last couple of years as well, that he had been meeting many, many different, recording academy members all through the country because he, as a singer-songwriter, he was always traveling. He was traveling to all the different cities around the country, or actually around the world, and meeting different recording artists and getting together with them. And so our idea is that we should pull artists together, not just from the same genre, not just if you're in American Roots or if you're in New Age that you just meet your own colleagues. We should get everybody from every kind of genre together in a room and let people introduce themselves, tell who they are, what they do, and in fact, if they want to, they can even perform a little bit of what they're working on now. It's not for performance, it's for an industry event so that you are able to network and people really get to know you, and perhaps some interesting collaborations would come out of this. And in the least, we'd all get to know one another because we all basically, while our lives and our work lives can be very different, at the same time, the same challenges. We really face all the same challenges at the same time. For instance, in this past year, if you're a member of the arts, everything was canceled. So, I mean, just to be able to be part of that, and you had to reinvent yourself online in a certain way if you still wanted to have some work, or you had to get back into if you had your own recording studio. But everybody had that kind of shared experience in this past year. So we thought, what if we can do this? So I, again, with my theater background, I'm been a long-time member of the Drama League in New York City, and it just had opened its new doors down in Tribeca. And I went to them and I said, I'd like to host. They have a nice small room that would be, I think the max was supposed to be 75 people. I said, I'd like to host an event here. They said, fine. I said, but I've got to bring somebody in to see, do we have all the right equipment? Because again, my understanding of what the audio tech would be needed if performers really did want to perform, that was limited, but Grant would know. Plus, I knew Grant would be seen very credible to all these other artists who are coming from very different fields than musical theater. So I brought him down to the Drama League. We met in L.A. at the Grammys. I brought him, a few months. He said that he was going to be playing his debut time at the Bitter End. That was his debut night at the Bitter End. I said, I'll be there, and the next morning you come with me to the Drama League. Well, we went to the Drama League. They had fabulous, as far as he was concerned, they had everything that we would possibly want to need for that first time. And we sat down on their sofa in the reception area, and we basically invented what is now the Indie Collaborative. And June 8th, 2015, we thought if we'll be lucky if we get 30 or 40 people. Well, remember, I said that the max was 75 people, and we weren't supposed to have 75. We had 77 people that night.
Wow.
And while it was happening, we gave anybody who wanted to get up, we just went down the rows. I mean, first row, second row, and because most of us did not know each other, we all came into that room strangers. Mike Greenleaf was there that night. We did not know each other, and if we had known each other, it was only via social media. We had not met. And so basically, Grant hosted it. I always told Grant is our official host. I said, you're the on-stage guy. I'm behind the scenes. And so I welcomed everybody and then gave the floor to Grant. And he went down person by person, and each person had 5 minutes to introduce, himself, herself, what they did, and if they wanted to perform, they could perform. While that was happening, as people do now, again, which is all new to me, they are, of course, flashing their cell phones, taking pictures, and posting them on social media in real time. While Grant is hosting, he's getting texts from people, from artists all over the country. When are you coming to our city to do this? And that's how it happened. And in that next year, we did events like that in Philly, in Atlanta, 2 in L.A., in Chicago. And so we just and San Francisco. I'm just trying to think about all the different places. And within a couple of years, we were over 2,000 strong.
Wow.
And this actually during December, if your listeners are interested, this weekend, this third weekend in December, and leading up to the afternoon or the evening of Christmas Eve, Star Events Online, a UK production company who is doing all kinds of events for all wonderful charities throughout the year online. They invited us to basically invite our IC members, our Indie Collaborative members, and so each concert is a different theme. Last weekend it was Christian Christmas and classical Christmas. This weekend is country Christmas and a jazz Christmas. Next weekend is pop and rock, and the afternoon and the evening of Christmas Eve is traditional Christmas.
Wow.
And so 20 some of our Indie Collaborative members are all sharing their time and talent, and they're doing it for a wonderful cause, Cystic Fibrosis Trust in the UK. So that's the kind of thing that's happening. But if they want to come to see us live, we already have dates, and they should definitely come to our website. September 19th, come visit us in Newport, Rhode Island. And December 8th, come visit us at Lincoln Center for our Interfaith Holiday Concert. And on April 22nd in 2022, come visit us at Carnegie Hall for our celebration of Earth Day.
Wow, you got a lot going on. That's great.
Yeah. So, but come to our website at indiecollaborative.com. And they'll read about everything.
That is fantastic. I was going to ask you that, and you just have amazing projects going on. And, of course, sounds like you got got a lot going on for 2021, and just a couple of minutes here with Eileen Sherman here on the Mike Wagner Show. You've been absolutely fantastic. Love to have you back on soon. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career, Eileen?
I'm sorry, I did not hear that last sentence.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who do you consider your biggest influence in your career?
My biggest influence in my career. I don't know if there's, okay, I'm going to give you two things. Okay. One, okay, and both of them are kind of nondescript. One is and so anybody who's a student now, particularly a student of theater, and is saying, why do I have to study this? When I was a graduate student, I was studying history of criticism. And while I thought it was interesting, I thought, when am I ever going to use this? I did not realize that while I was studying history of criticism, I was really learning basically the fundamentals of the structure of playwriting. So the first thing I would say is that was a big, big influence, because I realized that it was a roundabout way to understand, because I never studied writing or playwriting in a classical sense in a classroom. I basically have just done it. I just kind of jumped into it to do it. But I did realize that my history of criticism course taught me a lot of things. Not necessarily, there's no tried and true, but it taught me a lot of things that you're not supposed to do. So you can always pick those things up. And the other thing that I would say influences me is great show overtures. If anybody who loves musical theater, a great show overture is just so inspiring to me. It sweeps me away, and it also it makes me want to be in that world and to create and to be part of that world, that I can also have a small, tiny niche where I create as well. So some of the great overtures, and I will tell you my all-time favorite overture, and anybody who knows musical theater knows this, the very best opening of any overture ever are the first three notes of Gypsy. And you hear that, and I've gone to many different productions of Gypsy, and when the audience hears those first three notes, they start to applaud, because it is just, and it's just so powerful. So I would say those are my great influences.
It sounds amazing, too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point, Eileen?
Anyone at this point?
Yes.
For somebody who wants to be in the theater?
Or anyone at this point. It can be
a writer. Oh, okay.
Or in general.
In general. My best advice for someone. Well, I think what's really, really important, two things: to be tenacious, to never give up. If you have a dream, whatever that dream is, and to respect everybody's dream, whatever that dream is, no matter how many times you are knocked down or people told you you're dreaming too big, don't listen. Just be tenacious and keep going. I will say, I just wrote this in another interview, success never comes in a straight line. It never comes the way you expect it to come. So just remember that. It never comes that way. That would be my very best advice. But the other is always to have a sense of humor and to remain patient. If you can have humor, patience, and tenacity, if you can basically call them your traits, like own them, you will find success. Not the way you expect it, but it will come to you. Just keep at it.
That's very good.
My best advice.
Yeah, that's right. Once again, here with Eileen Sherman, co-founder of Indie Collaboratives, also of Picture Perfect, author of Violin Players, and A Potato More here on the Mike Wagner Show. Eileen, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. And lastly, once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase your book and check out your works?
Well, I would like everybody, particularly because this is my newest webpage for the violin players, please go to ebsoriginals.com. www.bookmark.com. And there you will find ways to connect to me, obviously. Also, you'll find my bio, and also you'll find everything about the violin players, as well as an opportunity to go and have a little preview of it. So I hope that you will do that. And certainly to come to and indiecollaborative.com. You will learn all about the Indie Collaborative and our upcoming concerts. And let's see what else you need to know. Certainly, my books, whether it's Monday in Odessa, Independence Avenue, the Violin Players, they are on. They're on the internet and certainly through Amazon. I think that's it. I don't know how else, but certainly everybody feel free to contact me personally, and my contact page is right there at ebsoriginals.bookmark.com.
That is fantastic. Once again, Eileen, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely great. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. And don't forget to keep in touch. You've been absolutely fantastic, and I love looking forward to what you have coming up as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. Thank you.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, this is Mia Mohsen Zia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing: Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People Based Upon a Real Life Relationship, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon. Do read it. I'm sure you'll love it. It's www.miamohsenzia.com and www.amazon.com/Mia
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.